Okay, hey there students. So here is your Unit 2 Day 1 guided notes. This is your first video. Alright, so what we're going to learn about right now is called the cell cycle. On your homework, you're going to see something and it looks like this little, it's like a blank circle right here like this. So come back to this part of the video and you're going to want to pause it and fill in the circle on your homework. So there is that. Now, you know, we are made of cells. We're made of 100 trillion cells. So crazy. And our cells, sometimes they get worn out and they need to divide. So we're going to learn about how do our cells divide. And it's really amazing. It's kind of a miracle. So now there's this thing called the cell cycle, and it's the same for all of our body cells. So when we're talking right now about the cell cycle, we're talking about our body cells. So the first thing is that G1, the cell is going to carry out its growth and normal functions. Now G1 is growth and normal functions. Now it's also going to go through a critical checkpoint. You know, when I say that word checkpoint, I wonder if you think of DUI checkpoint. You know, that's what I think of. And, you know, at a DUI checkpoint, the cars, they all have to pull over, right? And the cops look in, they're like, hey, everything okay in here? They want to make sure that people aren't drunk driving like idiots. So just like that, our cells go through a checkpoint. And the reason is to make sure that the cell isn't bad. Is it ready to continue? Is it big enough? Is it undamaged? And does it have enough energy? If all of these things are good, it can move on to the next phase. The next phase is called synthesis phase. And that's when the DNA, remember the DNA is what makes us, gets copied. That's on your test. Now, that's two of the phases, so we're going to move on to the next phase. The next phase is going to be G2. So during G2, it's going to continue going about its normal business. It is going to continue growing, it's going to continue, and then, you know, there's going to be a second checkpoint. It's that big of a deal that we have to go through two checkpoints, every single one of our cells, every time it wants to divide. Now, there's this thing, and we're going to talk about it a whole bunch, it's called mitosis. So mitosis is a form of cell division. Now, mitosis is going to make an exact copy of a cell, basically just like as if it was a copy machine. You know, you have handouts there, and how I made those was on the copy machine. I put it on the copy machine made an exact copy. It didn't change it, it didn't try to make it look any nicer than it does. It made an exact copy. So that's what mitosis does. It does not change it in any way. Now, cytokinesis is the next thing. Cytokinesis. Cytokinesis is the dividing of the cell's cytoplasm, and it results in two identical cells. So divides the cytoplasm, and it forms two identical cells. So, you know, like I said, it's our cells that are doing this dividing, and, you know, some of our cells reproduce really often. For example, our intestine cells. So our intestine cells, you know, our intestines' job, and, you know, actually we're going to talk about our intestines and digestion and poop for a whole unit. I can't wait. Our intestine cells, they need to divide very, very often, about every 4 to 5 days. That's very, very often. Their job is because it's because they're working hard. Now, some cells don't divide very often at all. For example, your liver cells and even your intestine muscle cells, like the outside cells, last for 16 years. You probably have the same ones you were born with. Some cells never reproduce themselves. That's eggs, human eggs. Boys do not have eggs. Women have eggs. Boys have sperm. Those are our sex cells. And now, this next part is important, is that, you know, a cell cannot function if it's too big or too small. I want you to think about, think about the difference of like a smart car. You know, those little cars are so little, right? They basically have exactly enough space for what they are. So this is a smart car, right? They only have exactly enough space for all of the parts. Have you seen one of those stupid big monster trucks, like the dude driving it, like you can't even get a parking spot? That thing is so big, it can barely function too, huh? How are you gonna park that stupid thing? So a cell is the same way. Can't be too small, can't be too big, has to be right in the middle, has to be a Honda Accord. Next, we're going to talk about chromosomes. So chromosomes are basically like a long strand of our DNA. Remember, our DNA is instructions for our cells. Now, our bodies, they have 46 chromosomes each. We get exactly 23 from our mom, exactly 23 from our dad. Whether we like it or not, we are exactly half our mom and exactly half our dad. So we all have 46. Chromosomes we usually show like this with an X. Now, during interphase, the cells, our chromosomes inside of our cells, basically, they kind of look like a bowl of spaghetti or something. So here's the cell, and here's the nucleus. You know, the other parts are here. So it's kind of like they're in there like a noodles. Noodles, all like a bowl of spaghetti. They're kind of unorganized, but they are ready. This is during interphase. Now, when the cells get ready for mitosis, the chromosomes are going to condense. So the noodles, you know, if I'm going with the spaghetti thing, the noodles are going to pair up like so and become an X. They're going to also have a middle part called a centromere. And one piece of the X, I want you to notice this, just one piece is called a chromatid. And the centromere is the middle part. The whole entire thing here is called a chromosome. Now, we have something called sister chromatids. Now, it's like, I don't know if your mom, if you have a sister and she ever made you match, but my mom always made me and my sisters wear matching clothes. So they're the two identical ones. It's like the two noodles that are match up and find each other, and they form an X in order to get ready for mitosis. Now, mitosis, the T is for twinsies. Twinsies, like twins. Mitosis. Now, mitosis, like I said, is for body cells, hair and body cells. The fancy science word for that is somatic cells. Now, somatic are something called diploid. Diploid means that they have two copies of each. Now, they have one from your mom and one from your dad. Remember, I told you you're going to get 23 chromosomes from your mom, plus the 23 from your dad is going to equal the 46. Like it or not, you're exactly half your mom and half your dad. So we are going to draw mitosis now. So you'll see where it says iceberg, probably melted after the Titanic crashed. That's just a way of remembering it. So let's do the phases of mitosis. Okay, now the first phase is called interphase. So that's where your blank is, you guys. So fill this part in. This is where your blanks are. Interphase, the cell goes about its growth and normal duties. Test alert, you need to know that. The next phase is called prophase, then metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. I am going to show you guys some hand motions when we go into when I see you, and they actually are pretty helpful. But right now I want to draw the different phases, and I want you to draw them next to them. So first, I want you to draw interphase. So this is what we're going to draw, and we're just focusing on the nucleus here. So I'm going to make the DNA in here, and it kind of looks like a bowl of spaghetti. This is interphase. So draw that next to interphase or somewhere on that page. Next up is prophase. Now the DNA is going to condense into chromosomes. So instead of being noodles, each noodle is going to find its matching noodle. And now they're going to line up and they're going to look like X's. That's prophase. And that's how they get ready to divide. If it was a bowl of spaghetti, it's so hard to divide. Wouldn't make any sense at all. So when they line up like X's, that makes so much more sense. That way the cell, when it divides, it can make sure it got all of the parts. Next up, we have metaphase. M for middle. The X's are going to line up down the middle of the cell. Metaphase, middle. Next up comes anaphase. So basically what those X's are going to do is that they're going to separate. They're going to look like kind of like little V's like this. See how you can kind of visualize that this was once an X and this was once an X. Now that is going to be called anaphase. Next up, we have telophase. So it's going to be like where there's almost like two separate nucleuses, and the DNA is going to go back to looking like a bowl of spaghetti. That's telophase. And finally is cytokinesis, the division of the cytoplasm. It's basically like this gets cut there in half, and now we have two separate cells. And that is how cells divide. So I've included the link to the Mr. Parr song, so at some point I want you to listen to that. And that concludes our notes for day 1. If you guys have any questions, then write them down. I believe I covered everything. And then move on to video number 2.